Good afternoon, everyone. Hope all of you are doing well and are safe and at home, most importantly. I would like to thank all of you for joining us today for the next in the series of web panel discussions that covers topics related to the COVID-19 impact. Today's topic for discussion, ladies and gentlemen, how to manage your overstock and unsold inventory. So we have been in a state of lockdown for almost more than 2 months now, and business across all strata of life has been affected. That COVID-19 has been humanity's biggest disruptor of life and business in the recent history is just an understatement. And apart from creating an environment of overwhelming sense of caution, fear and concern, it has severely impacted the lives and the businesses globally, especially when it comes to commercial transactions. And amongst the global growth of online and multi-channel marketing and their effect on physical retails, including malls, the coronavirus crisis might actually be a game changer for retail across the world. Some of the statistics which are evolving as the lockdown seems to get lifted in a phased manner include shortage of skilled labor right across manufacturing and front-end retail, leading to demand supply issues. We are experiencing more than 75% of the large format departmental stores globally either having to revamp their operation, shutting down, or on the verge of closure. Brands which have gradually reopened some of their stores, India and outside, are actually meeting only 25 to 30% of their usual sales at a store level compared to the pre-COVID days. On a year-to-year basis, some of the businesses have quoted 30 to 45% of last year numbers, same period. Consumers today are actually only buying products which are more of a necessity and absolutely urgent, postponing everything else. And post-COVID lockdown, there is likelihood of some of the categories like mobile phones, tablets, electronics, and other work from home enablers to expect a short time surge. Electronic payments seem to be doing extremely well across all the online channels. However, having said that, consumers have been extremely conservative in terms of preserving cash for contingencies. Impulse buying for definitely, I can say, is taking a hit in the current scenario. So with this, I would like to welcome our expert panelist for today's webinar. I have with me Mr. Naveen Panchari, founder, managing director, Olympia Industries, a chartered accountant by profession. He has completed a PG program from IIM Ahmedabad. Naveen Panchari has been an entrepreneur with interests in textiles, construction, finance and distribution. As chairman and managing director of Olympia Industries, he has been instrumental in strategic tie-ups with various brands and marketplaces, ensuring Olympia's strong brand portfolio. Our second panelist for today is Mr. Pankaj Varmani, founder and CEO of Clovia Lingerie. Pankaj is a serial entrepreneur and has co-founded and grown 2 companies in the past, which have gone through successful acquisition and got featured in multiple global forums, including Red Herring Asia 100 and Deloitte India Fast 50. In his previous role, he was heading the incubator Mountain Apollo India, an initiative of Mountain Partners, AG Zurich. Pankaj's latest venture is Clovia, one of the fastest growing lingerie brands in India. And finally, we have our third panelist, Mr. Venkat Knott, founder and CEO of Vinculum Group. Venkat is an experienced professional enabling companies to go global, extremely passionate about creating high performance teams and disruptive SaaS platforms. Through Vinculum, Venkat is helping high growth brands to be enabled across cross-border and scaling them globally. A sports buff, Venkat has lived in many countries, including Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, and Singapore, to name a few, besides India, of course. And he communicates in English and 6 other Indian languages. Holding a degree in engineering from NIT Calicut, He also is a pass out in Master of Business Administration from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Abhishek Mitra, Business Head for Cross Border at Vinculum Technologies, and your host for today. Playing the role of a moderator with an objective to do some crystal ball gazing on how retailers and distributors are addressing the issue of unsold inventory in stores, channel expansion to increase revenue, and use of technology to leverage new markets, thereby staying relevant to the customers. Thank you again, gentlemen, for taking out time and joining us today for the webinar. As I see, we have an extremely strong audience today, including participants from some of the countries around India and Southeast Asia. And we really look forward to your point of view and some of the pertinent questions facing brands and retailers in a post-COVID lockdown. A quick hygiene check before we begin the session. We've requested and enabled all the attendees to be on mute till the time we open the house for any questions. However, during the course of the webinar, you are most welcome to send your questions on the chat window, and we shall take these questions on a first come, first serve basis. With this, we begin the webinar. My first question: what will be the immediate go-to-market plan post the period of lockdown, considering there would be leftover stocks? And I request Pankaj Varmani to address this first. Pankaj, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Abhishek. And thank you for the opportunity. I think it's phenomenal, being part of such a brilliant effort by you guys. See, I think post-COVID, just to give a little sense of where the business stands right now, we guys again are an omni play, and the way we are looking at the business, pointers at this point of time is that online revenue is back almost 70 to 75% at this point of time, and this is like data from last night, and offline is literally absolutely in the ballpark that you mentioned, in your starting note, which is somewhere between 30 to 40%, and since it is opening alternate days, that kind of gets slashed by half again. So I think for people who already like us, who have stock in hand and cash flow to address, the immediate first need is to make sure that the cash flow starts to get generated, and for that the best way to go to market right now is to focus as much energy as we can on online, because a lot of moving parts kind of get addressed day zero. So I think the way we guys have looked at it is that even a lot of unsold stock in the offline scenario right now, we are finding ways, rather than to open a store, which is going to be a very, very long journey for some containment areas, we're trying to figure out ways to at least get the leftover stock from there to our warehouses where we can start shipping it in online. I think so. It is just, there are a lot of moving parts, and which part you can address quickly to get some revenues in. I think everybody is thinking somewhat short term, at least at this point of time, and I think online is a brilliant way to start. Another aspect that we guys are looking at right now is that everything is being looked at from a COVID filter right now. So in spite of the revenues coming back, there is a lot of discomfort in the end customer in terms of realizing what is what is this safe enough, and a lot of those things. So a lot of those comfort factors will have to be built in, which I think every brand is working very hard to do that, and will have to continue to do that at least for the next 3 to 4 quarters, if not months.
Naveenji, I would request you also to participate in the discussion and share your views on the go-to-market plan.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. Thank you all for giving us the opportunity to express our views and give a platform to share the thoughts around this. So I tend to agree with Pankaj when it comes to the online play, where the excess inventory or surplus inventory can definitely be moved to the customers through online. Because as such, because of lockdown and because of so many restrictions around movement of the stocks and movement of the people, movement of the buyers to the market, there is always an apprehension and buyers are unable to reach the market. So here, it is always important to reach out to the customers through online. And now to reach out to the customers through online, it is always good to keep the inventory closer to the customers. So here, regional replication is going to be something which is of importance. Beside that, you have to see that how do you have the quick turnaround. If something is moving fast, you have to have the replace the stock very quickly from one location to another location, and there has to be some substitute. And at the same time, keep the engagement of the customers on, wherein you have to maybe resort to the bundling or kitting so that the customer's interest is always live. And at the same time, you have to see that the product visibility is important, because if the products are visible on the platform or on any of the online channels, then the customer should know that this kind of products are available, and they can reach out to the platform to buy the stocks. And here, beside all this, here support for the customers is going to be of importance, because here market visibility and market product awareness about the product in the market is going to be of paramount importance. And beside that, here the customer is always looking for the trusted seller, because here there has been a lot of other people who has come in. So many of the platforms have restricted the support with respect to the marketing and promotions around the product. So those kind of things are restricted specifically around COVID-19 products. They are not allowing any promotions. Like Amazon has restricted all those promotions. So that is where the trusted seller and trusted products becomes of important. So here I definitely agree that online selling is going to be the paramount importance to flush out the excess inventory.
Okay, so continuing on the same thread, how do you plan to manage your working capital with respect to inventory liquidation and the new season buy? Considering that we have lost most part of spring summer 20 in lieu of COVID. Also, would deep discounting work as a long time strategy? I think Indian markets have been used to discounting period for a very long time. In fact, for about 2 months in the season, it's perennially been a scenario of discounting across online channels, and even the period of discounting for offline has extended. Will this particular pandemic actually create a long-term discounting strategy, or will brands find a different way to get over this crisis? Naveenji, you can take this question first, and then I'll have Pankaj come in.
So here, managing the working capital is of very important thing, because today, because of excess investment in the inventory, is becoming a concern for almost all the stakeholders in the industry. Maybe it is a manufacturer, or maybe it is a trader, or stockist, or retailer. So here, managing the working capital is something which is very critical. And here one has to make sure that even if he is liquidating at a lower price, even if he has to book a loss, then also one should try to liquidate the inventory. And here, to resort to liquidate the inventory, one has to resort to all the means and ways to have the sale turnout happening. Beside all this, one can always look forward to have the support from the government, which is specifically been passed on through the bankers. Today, the government of India has already pushed the government, especially the banks, to give extra working capital out of the existing limit. Now, today, if you look at normal banking channels, if you are not an MSME, if your turnover is less than more than 100 crores, or your limit is more than 25 crores, then you are automatically granted 10% of your existing working capital limits, which you can go and avail from the banking system. So that can come to your support. Beside all this, if you are an MSME, then the government has pushed the banks to the roll out extra working capital for the traders or MSME partners, where the turnover is less than 100 crores and working capital limit is less than 25 crores, to give extended working capital support of 20% of the existing working capital. So one can always resort to those kind of support system which is available. Now, other than this, the government has already extended you to give the repayment of your term loan or installments and interest payment, where there is an additional moratorium period of 3 months, which is now extended to 6 months. So with all this, the intent of the government is to allow additional money to be infused in the system. When additional money is coming into the system, you are empowered to use that money to fund your working capital. That working capital, but again, one has to be smart enough and clever enough to rotate it faster. Here again, out of having the surplus money in your system, you should not end up stocking wrong inventories. You should always ensure that you are having the inventory which is rotating fast. So you have to have a close eye on your stock turns. You have to make sure that your stock turns are 10 or 12 a year, so that you are in a position to rotate your money faster. So, I mean, this is how one has to be very clever and judicious while planning the working capital investment. And this is of paramount importance in any industry. And that is where most of the traders or most of the manufacturers or most of the businessmen get stuck with the wrong inventory. And it is a problem of plenty all over the system. Today, if you look at the inventory beside this COVID-19 period, prior to COVID-19 also, you must have seen there has been a surplus inventory in the system all around. Manufacturers were also having the surplus inventory, the master distributors were also having the surplus inventory, the channel partners were having the surplus inventory, even the retailers were having the surplus inventory, because the production was over capacity. Now, this I see, I see a situation that after 3 to 6 months, there will be shortage of inventory because production has been shut down. But consumption and demand is going to spurt after 6 months or 3 months, specifically in the necessities and essentials. Luxury and super luxury products are going to face the challenge, and they may take at least 3 to 4 quarters to balance the situation.
Pankaj, your views in terms of working capital management and discounting?
So 2-3 things. I think Naveen just beautifully covered almost all the important aspects. There's just a few additional things that I wanted to quickly add here is, right now there will be an absolute quick need to generate capital, right? And that might lead to a lot of knee-jerk, reactions as well from a lot of brands and sellers, where you would go into over discounting, you would go into a state where. So I think for a short-term breathability, one has to be very careful not to have a very long-term damage. I think that's one thing which is going to be super critical. So, and it's a very thin line to cross, frankly. You have to be alive to to live the next day. But if you do something which is so damaging that you live like an amputee for the rest of your life, it's not a good idea. So yeah. I think that's the fine balance a brand will have to make, and everybody's struggling. I'm just giving a problem here, not the solution. So I think, so one way that we have looked at it is that, there are certain things that we believe could be a bigger discount, but those can be tweaked in a way where you demonstrate saying that, hey, we understand you are under stress. We are Make It India in India, and our people are under stress. We want both of you to do a good job with your lives. So here is some discount, an extra discount for you. So I think the messaging through that COVID filter has to be very, very critical, so that while you take those measures, you are also doing it in a way so that it doesn't impact you in the long run. I think that's one thing which everybody will have to take care of. Other thing, I think you have to, anybody who was averse to reading those fine prints and trying to understand, I personally have been like, I hate legal documents, right? In spite of me being very careful about them all the time, it's the first task of my day when I have to read legal. Today I get a document and I read it like it's a John Grisham novel, because that's where everything lies. So I think now that's what we guys are doing. I think you have to read the fine print. You have to seek moratoriums. You have to seek more working capital, as Naveenji very rightly pointed out, because government can only do as much. It doesn't have enough in its coffers, but whatever it has, it's offering. You have to make sure that you make the most of it. I think we're not a Germany. We're not a US, where money will just come straight to your bank accounts. It is what it is. So make good what you got. So I think that's the way we should look at it.
Venkat, your thoughts on discounting, considering the season has been, I would not say extremely bad, but it's been unfortunate that retail has shut down completely.
Well, add to what Pankaj had earlier said, I think online revenues have come back significantly after the lockdown has been relaxed. I would say from our platform, we have seen that 40% went down in April. But in May, in the last week, we have actually come back to nearly February levels. So you can say there is a pent-up clearance of orders which is happening. But I would say it will definitely settle into the February levels reasonably quickly. So in the short term, you're obviously going to see categories like, essentials, of course, will do well. But we are also noticing that a lot of the productivity tools, right? It could be electronic gadgets, laptops, your chargers, etc., and board games, all of them have gone through the roof in the last month, if you've noticed. So those are certain things which will happen, I guess. Given the way things are, COVID is not going away in a hurry. So I would say that this is something which will continue. So certain categories will do well. I think super luxury category, like Naveenji said, will take more time to recover. I would say possibly a quarter or maybe 4 months. They have to find different ways to engage with their customers. But in the shorter term, I would say these are mechanism to do, and there will be deals on the table. I'll also correlate to what happened in Hong Kong after SARS. While SARS was very infectious, I don't think it is as infectious as COVID is. But there were deals for about 9 months after SARS. So anytime you go to the mall, there were lots and lots of deals. And but the other interesting angle is online completely took off in that part of the world after SARS. So I expect a similar thing here. Okay, but I would say it is not. There will be deals on the table, but it is not that brands have to completely discount and kill themselves to sell. Okay, and there are other interesting ways in which companies like us are matching supply and demand and helping them move the goods to other markets, right? So those are some things brands could leverage in terms of being able to take care of the inventory which is piled up.
Sure.
So,
so Venkat, continuing on the same question, you've already addressed it that there is likely to be a shift in consumer behavior from lifestyle and fashion to maybe essentials. But how do some of the so-called brands in the non-essential category, develop policies to tide over this crisis, and maybe not in the short term, but at least in probably the next 6 months to 1 year period, at least come back to their pre-COVID numbers?
So I didn't actually say that there is a shift from non-essential to essential. I think essentials naturally was the only goods which were allowed to be delivered.
Yes.
Naturally, the numbers were high there. And
sure.
There are some interesting trends. I'll touch on that first. So if you look at what's happened, obviously, FMCG guys are going direct to consumer. So practically everyone in FMCG in some form or the other is looking at making sure that the inventory they have with the distributors is all available online, and they're able to tie up with hyper-local guys like Swiggy and Zomato, etc., and directly deliver to the customer. So that's one major trend I noticed. Okay, and I do think this is global. It is not just in India. I would say FMCG guys globally will be going completely direct to consumer. I'm not saying completely, but yeah, man, there's a clear shift. When you think of the other categories, the people are going to work from home, but they're not going to completely stop shopping. There is a general slightly depressed environment which was there, but you can't keep an Indian down. You can't keep most of us down for too long. So we will continue to shop, and we do like to shop. Okay, so as a community, so I do think many of the categories will come back. Okay, some will take 4 months, like I said, but yeah, some will come up much faster. So if you're offline, I would say then you'll have to think about going omni-channel faster. And that's a trend we are noticing as well. Practically every brand I know is going omni-channel to be able to sell on marketplaces, to be able to list the inventory they have, not just in their stores, even franchisee stores, and put it up through an app and or put it up and list it on marketplaces and sell it. So that's something which will happen long term, because particularly if you're working from home for a long duration, this is a very serious change in customer behavior. When it's not like you've done it for a month or month and a half and you're going back to shopping in the mall. I do think people have to think through how they can be more present online and to be able to make it easy for customers to shop. And I think a lot of innovation will come both in terms of functionality and in terms of business models here to be able to be present. Okay, slightly longish answer to what you asked, Abhishek, but FMCG guys going direct to consumer, I think, is a clear trend. Brands going omni-channel is a clear trend. And I'm very sanguine, Abhishek. I think most categories will come back between now and September. So I think it is a short picture. but by September, the industry and the rest of the year, if you look, I would say the online will absolutely go through the roof. So if you are again want me to put down my view on this, definitely double-digit growth. Online contributes 3 to 4% of retail. I think it will be more closer to 15% by March 2021. Okay, that's my take on this. So all the offline guys have to re-look at their business model to be present more online and to engage with customers more.
Sure. Thanks, Venkat. Very relevant answer. On the same line, Pankaj, you have recently added a line of PPE products in your brand portfolio. In your opinion, is new product development a key to actually meet some of the business goals in the short term?
So I think till the time you were asking this question, I had a different reply. But the moment you said in the short term, my reply kind of changed, right? So I think there are two views here. See, there are two ways to look at it. When you're building a brand, you're building a brand business, right? One is that you try and make multiple tweaks to kind of stay relevant to the market, right? Today, face mask is that tweak. If you have to be a relevant brand and you're not being socially responsible if you're not doing that, right? I mean, we launched something called Mask is My Superpower, and we have like some 75 million engagements on it right now. So I'm saying it's not something which we had dreamt of 60 days ago. Today we are living that reality, and today we are doing what we're doing, right? And we believe that it's going to be a part of our long term. So to answer this question, I'll take just 2 minutes. I'll tell you the moment this hit us, right? The moment this tornado hit everybody, I froze for good 48 hours. Okay, and it's literally a confession. And for the first time, having seen like two different such cases in the past, all the way from a Y2K to a to a Lehman, I absolutely froze. And then we made three things. We made a quick response team, which was supposed to generate just immediate cash flow. Then there was a midterm team, which was just supposed to ensure that there's engagement with the end consumer, and a long-term team, which doesn't lose the eye on the ball, right? And I think the answer to your question lies in that strategy alone. The quick response team worked immediately on PPEs, and they started building it out. The medium response team, and this is not something I asked them to do. I just said, this is what you're going to do, right? These are the key initiatives, as part of an OKR platform. I told them your objective is to do this, right? The key initiative was their idea. And the medium term started to work on the masks. And it's beautiful the way it panned out, and that's how it reflects also, on the brand. I think PPE has been a phenomenal experience for us, because it's been very gratifying also for my team. I see my team saying that, hey, we are also making a contribution to the company, but we are also making contribution to the to the ecosystem by doing something which is relevant at this point of time, which I think is an add-on. I'm sure it started out differently, but that's an add-on thought that came up. And secondly, from the mass perspective, I think every brand right now is doing some sort of innovation there, and it's going to be a way of our life. So we better get aligned. But tomorrow, do you think a PP is going to be part of the Clovia platform? That is a question I'm not very sure of. We actually are contemplating airport protective equipment, which we believe is going to be an interesting thing to pull off. We are working on some really crazy, cool, cute designs around it, because actually it's going to be part of your airport wear. But whether it's going to be a big opportunity or small, we still don't know.
So possibly what is interesting, Pankaj, is that Naveenji has stores in the airport which you can use to sell the masks. So the other thing, in terms of possibly you can also look at it as an opportunity to export. So I think that's the other way you can contribute to the economy, Pankaj.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there was never a better time for India to. I mean, if we don't, milk it now, I mean, goddamn, we don't deserve it, right?
Phenomenal. In your category also, you have actually seen in your brand portfolio, there have been many kinds of brands which have actually seen ups and downs during this period. Especially if you talk about luggage as a category, with tourism coming to an all-time low, some of those guys have been struggling of late. In your opinion, how will some of these categories probably look at making a comeback, and do you think it has actually created opportunities short term for some new products to be more prominent than the others?
Yes,
Just cover bundling as well, Naveen ji. There was a question from the audience. Maybe you can cover that also.
yes, yes. So here, coming to the point of short-term, medium-term, and long-term approach in this kind of situation scenario, I tend to agree with Pankaj. What he says, there has to be a short-term strategy. So here at Olympia, we have carved out a short-term strategy wherein we have got the sanitizers and mask and uh, uh, sanitizer dispensing units as a part of our portfolio, because today the customers are looking for it. It is part of your social obligation also as a retailer and online retailer to provide those kind of products from the best of the brands available in the country. So that is where we have quickly aligned all those brands beside having our own brand portfolio also under sanitizer. We are also talking to Clovia to have their mask also to be part of portfolio. Now, coming to the medium-term strategy and long-term strategy, of course, here, the way COVID-19 is expanding and it is going to be here to stay, this is going to be part of lifestyle and this is going to be part of the social norm now. So here, one has to like it or not, one may like it or not, but at the same time, one has to live with it. One has to wear the mask, one has to have the social norms to keep a distance, and one has to have the offline working or work from home and that kind of culture. So obviously we have to have the product portfolio which is providing offline working or working from home and that kind of situation. But now here, since the fashion freak cannot be away from this, so here I like the idea from Clovia or many other brands who has got different varieties and different colors and different combinations for the mask, which is providing various kind of different masks having different paintings on it or different designs on it for the kids and for the ladies, which are having the different set of colors. Now here, rising to the occasion, all the airports have also mandated it to have the COVID-19 products also to be available on the shoppings, so that the passengers are having the access to those products, which are carrying different kind of sanitizers, different kind of masks, different kind of the infrared thermometer and all those kind of products. And long-term perspective, we look at it, then obviously long-term perspective, India is definitely going to have a bigger and better prospect, because today India itself is a big market and the government clearly wants that India should be self-reliant. Atmanirbhar Bano. That is the clear message, and that is where today, if we see 2 months back, there were hardly any mask manufacturing here in this country. There were hardly any manufacturing of the sanitizers. So today, the government has mandated it or given the clear offer to all the distilleries to rise to the occasion and start manufacturing sanitizers. So today we see there is a influx. There is a lot of sanitizers available in the market at a good, available, affordable pricing. Likewise for the mask also, similarly, most of the textile companies have risen and they are producing quality products for the mass. Likewise for the PPE kits. And today India is not only self-reliant, probably like for the mask, they have opened the exports from the country. Probably they will open the exports for sanitizers also. So that will not only give the opportunity for the self-consumption in the country, but also in long term, India could be a net exporter. So with all these kind of things, we can see that there is a clear-cut trend emerging wherein there is a short-term opportunities, medium-term opportunities, and long-term opportunities in different product segments. Now, coming to the point of categories, some of the categories will definitely have the temporary slowdown. Of course, I tend to agree with your point when travel and tourism is going to take a backseat. But here, that backseat does not mean it is going to be completely stopping. Maybe for 3 to 4 quarters, it is going to be on the slower side. But at the same time, here, within the luggage industry, also we see that the hard luggage or the luggage per se has shown a bit of slowdown. But at the same time, backpacks and other products which are part of the luggage, industry, many of the manufacturers are seeing the spurt in the volumes in the backpacks and bags, handbags. Those are the categories which are still seeing the movement. Of course, it is yet to come to the previous level, but you can still say January, February has been the slow month. Otherwise, also after the peak quarter of October, November, December. So now we can see that that is coming to the level of maybe in the month of June, we'll see the volume which are equivalent to January, February level. Now here again, we can see the clear-cut trend in some of the industries, especially the appliances. Now, appliances, I can see the clear growth because there has been a pent-up demand, and appliances are going to be good in demand and are in good demand. Today, that is already come to the situation of January, February level within May itself. Once e-commerce is started, because lot of physical distribution and lot of physical retailing is restricted still in most of the country, and now it is open for the red zone also for the deliveries. So that is clearly seeing the upward in the trend. So I trust I answer your point.
Yes, sir. You answered the point. As you were mentioning it, there's a question coming in from the audience, which says that for some of the brands who have actually taken a dip in sales, what is the best way in terms of clearing the stock? Would you recommend bundling with a higher price item, or would you recommend a discounting as a way to clear slow movers?
Yes, Pankaj, Venkat also did mention about it, and I skipped to answer that. So here I see bundling is a good media to sell out the products. Now, bundling is of 2-3 different nature. One is bundling of the same product, which is more than one product to be delivered to the customer. More than one piece. If you are bundling 2 pieces together, set of 2 or more than 2, which are bundled together to be delivered to the customer, is also bundling. There, the intent for that bundling is to see that your cost of shipment and also to induce the buyer to buy more from you. One is less than 500. Now, to cover the weight of the product within the threshold limit of 500 grams, and you, in any which case, even if you are shipping 100-gram product, then also you are paying the shipping fees charges for 500 grams, because that is the basic threshold limit. So in that case, if you bundle more than 2 or more than 3 and pass on that benefit in the saving of your transportation charges, could be passed on to the customer, so that customer is induced to buy more at a time. So that is bundling. Second way of bundling is cross bundling, wherein you tend to bundle 2 complementing projects together. So if somebody is buying sanitizer, and if you bundle together with the sanitizer the mask, because in any which case the person who is buying the sanitizer, he would definitely go for the mask also. Today or tomorrow he's going to have the mask. Likewise, some of the brands have gone the set of masks. They are offering six masks at a time in one set, and then pricing it accordingly. So here, why I'm giving the example of mask or sanitizer, because this is relevant to today's time. But otherwise, we have often been using bundling as a part of tool to market the product in the volume, or to induce the customer to buy the product which is selling more. And here, to answer your point more, in a clear terms, like one of the brands which we have been selling, which is not only the sanitizer but also the anti-septic liquid for the hand wash and other things. We were selling it in a bundle because individually the product was somehow not viable and not commercially tenable. And that product, even after this COVID-19 situation, also is moving in a very good volume, though it is priced very high. There are a lot of cheaper options available, but still that product is still in demand. Many of the customers have been asking for it. So bundling is one of the beautiful way of reaching out to the customers, more lucrative way to induce the customers.
Okay.
I'll add to that, Navinji, by saying that the other way is possibly to, if there are items which can potentially be sold in other markets, we can use the network of distributors like yourself to be able to push it into other markets. If there is sizable inventory and it makes sense and there is demand, we could match supply and demand and push it into other countries. We have moved more than $1 million worth PPE equipment during the lockdown.
Yes.
And that has been done purely using the network of distributors.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Venkat, actually, that brings me to my next question. In this kind of scenario, would you be looking at alternate channels, maybe like cross-border and digital marketing, to build traction for your products for the rest of the year? And you also mentioned about omni-channel. How important will a role will omni-channel play in the expansion of your brand's footprints? So, Pankaj, you can take this question first, and then Naveenji and Venkat will come in.
No, so absolutely. I think omni-channel is a redundant term. Frankly, if you're a brand, you gotta sell from wherever you gotta sell. I mean, as long as it's not impact. So I laugh, with my team that you could be a street hawker for all you care and sell your product as long as it's not negatively impacting the brand, it's not giving a bad experience to the end consumer, and it's not adding to your gross margins. I think if these three checkboxes are checked, you should sell it from wherever you can, right? I think omni is an absolute necessity. I think it's not it's a hygiene now. It was a hygiene always, but I think as it has happened to educational technology, right? For the longest period, people kept saying technology is important. Bring it to the classroom. Bring it to the classroom. Today, technology didn't come to the classroom. The classroom went to the technology.
Went home.
It went home. It was that crazy a shift. It was literally pushed in the direction. So it so happened. I think an exact same thing is going to happen to the offline channel as well, where people will have no choice but to take this channel because it becomes as Venkat rightly pointed out, the number is 15%. It's too big to ignore, and that's the way it's going to be. I think so. Omni is not even worth discussing whether it's important or not. It is a hygiene. It is a means of survival. You got to do it. If you don't do it, survive or perish. But I think the bigger interesting opportunity here, when I say bigger, I'm saying keep the hygiene aside. That's anyways going to happen, right? I think an interesting opportunity is that because of our not so popular neighbors now, there is going to be a very interesting demand across the board for a lot of good products, and people like as again people like yourself, Naveenji, have been doing a phenomenal job in terms of bridging that gap for people like us who do not have access to that side of the world. I think for example, I speak from perspective of a brand. Like for me, the aspiration will be have my brand reach out to a bigger audience, right? Bigger relevant audience, and B, get me cash flows. So if an export opportunity kind of addresses both, in a lot of ways, right? So I think this is going to be a very interesting white space which is developing, and somebody will fill it. If it is not India, then it's going to be a very sad place to be. It's going to be almost disappointing if that doesn't happen.
It's a global opportunity, really. Means India has a big opportunity, but there are many countries who have this opportunity.
No, absolutely. I mean, I am talking as an Indian brand trying to go outside. So absolutely, I'm talking from that perspective.
I'll just take a minute explaining that. So Naveenji is like an alpha seller in marketplaces. Okay, so which means in certain categories, every brand which operates in the category, Naveenji would represent. So approximately, Naveenji, you would be representing 1,000 brands in India. Is that a fair number?
Yes.
So and there are many categories where Naveenji, every brand in the market will work with Naveenji, right? So Olympia is very well known, and if you do look at the $1 billion day and Flipkart big sale days, you would see that not only will he be selling, he'll also be fulfilling a large percentage of the fulfillment of those orders. So what an interesting
it's like the day was Flipkart's, but $1 billion were his.
What I'm saying, okay, man, the point there, what we did really, which may be relevant for many brands. Why people like Naveenji work with Vinculum is because we have a tool and we have a platform which lets him sell on every channel. Now we have similar alpha sellers in every market, in US, in Indonesia, in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Malaysia, in Dubai. So what we've really done is to create a model where we have strategic partners in every part of the world. And this becomes a beautiful way for brands to either launch into new markets by working with these network of distributors. We have also tied in inventory financiers, importers on record, custom clearance agents, digital marketers. So we've created a complete ecosystem around the distributor. And through that, we are essentially, we can help brands to liquidate inventory, matching supply and demand, if there is a good products, of course, and if the launch brands into new markets. And I think the whole cross-border piece can be enabled very beautifully through this ecosystem. I mean, that's something which I want to leave to the audience, not more like a sales pitch, but doing our bit to make sure cross-border really goes up in a big way. So, yeah.
Now, adding to what all, yeah.
Just to add to what Venkat has mentioned, Naveenji, you are already trading on Amazon.com and Lazada. So it's an interesting field because the markets have already been opened up long back. In fact, I would say that Alibaba is late in actually inviting Indian sellers to come in and log into their platforms. We're already doing it. Interesting from that perspective, if you could probably also mention that what are you doing specially for your brands to take them cross-border, and how big a role is digital marketing for some of the initiatives?
So here, if we look at the market as a whole, it's a global village. Today, whatever India is offering, the world is looking for those products to be available to them. And here, if we see overall the distribution channel, historically, the goods have been moving from one location to another location. There have been multi-channel activities. The wholesaler and the exporters would tend to aggregate the stock here in a local market, the country of producing it, and then it would tend to reach to the country of consumption. And there again, the importers would have some role play, and thereafter there would be a channel of distribution to reach out to the end consumer. But now, having e-commerce play around this, we can see the clear elimination of all these channels. Now, those channels is having lot of cost involved, lot of risk involved, and lot of other uncertainties involved. In this kind of situation, because of COVID-19, a lot of importers and exporters will see lot of risk around this. So here, the volume game which was being done to them is going to sort of see the resistance. And that is where the direct consumer demand is going to be fulfilled from the producing country or supplier country to the consumption countries. And that is where today, even if you are shipping the products by air from one location to another location, still the price arbitrage will allow you to absorb that extra cost. And you would tend to take the risk by sending the stocks in a smaller lot through air so that the stocks can reach to the destination in the quickest possible time to the consumption location. And for that matter, we have already started doing it. A lot of stocks we are moving from India to US market or to UK market to cater to the European demand or US demand. Likewise, to the Far East countries or to the eastern part of the world through Lazada or maybe by even Australian and other countries, because still Indian products are still in demand. Likewise, from other locations where there is a demand, the stock can move from producing center to the demand center. Now here again, one interesting factor which emerges from a lot of multinational companies, though the multinational companies are having the presence globally, but at the same time, the cost of production is differing from one location to another location. So there again, there is a price arbitrage, which one can always tend to play around. And that is where the role of company like Olympia, which has an important role to play, which we can beautifully play around. And of course, we need to have the support from technology platforms like Winclam, or at the same time, the logistic support from other logistic partners to see that it is done efficiently.
And Pankaj, you may want to speak about digital marketing as an online first brand. You have actually been a pioneer or one of the wonderful executors of digital marketing. You can possibly touch upon that. How do you see that play a role today?
So I think frankly nothing changes. What it has been doing in the past. It will only get more aggressive now. Frankly, I believe that over a period of time the cost of digital marketing will go up because for obvious reasons, because a lot of people will try to reach out to the end consumer directly. So all of a sudden the big brands which were initially going through the offline route and the television route will have a larger piece of the pie going in this direction. But at the same time, I think it becomes a lot more intelligent now because as more the consumption on the digital platforms happen, more the smartness comes. And I've been having very detailed conversations with a lot of these digital marketing giants in the last 2 to 3 days, And what we guys are learning, again, very obvious. I think the smartest things are the obvious ones. What we're learning is that there is a humongous amount of first-time user that is coming on the internet now in terms of the e-commerce conversions, right? So the first-time buyers, I think it has been an unprecedented last 2 months of first-time buyers, predominantly driven by need of essentials. And our thing is that people who have now crossed that bridge and come over to the other side, can you make them stay? I think, and that is one of the biggest challenges that we see as a brand, a positive challenge. Can you take up that challenge and make sure that you keep them engaged, keep them selling them more? And I think that's the interesting question that we all are trying to address. But next 2 to 3 months, I think we'll see a lot more. And this ties back to your 15% number, right? I mean, that 15% is coming from these new guys. While the existing guys will buy more, I think the real drive will come from another interesting learning that we have is that tier 2, tier 3 all of a sudden is seeing an interesting surge. And for us, tier 2, tier 3 was always 52-53% of the revenue. And so for us, it's like, it's the most exciting time ever, because all of a sudden I have to pay less to get the same person, because, I'm already there. And for once they are coming to me, rather than me trying to reach out to them. So, which I think is a very, very interesting time.
Yeah, from the tech side as well, I think there is some significant changes because we're working from home, and we decided to work from home till July 1st in early March itself. But if you look at what's happening, possibly July 1st itself looks early today. So we might continue working from home for much longer. So what I'm saying is, if you're a large tech company, we're a medium size. There's a serious real estate savings in terms of rentals that you can get if you're working from home. So it's an interesting time. While there are a lot of difficulties in terms of the short-term issues, longer term, I think there is a lot of normalization in terms of costs is possible. So it's possible to run more profitably.
An interesting learning we've seen in the work from home scenarios that, initially we saw an absolute peak in performances for people, right? Because, because work from home was a new normal, it was interesting, so everybody just jacked up and we were like, God, this is it, now this is the holy grail. but over a period of time, you start missing that physical, feel, and you start seeing a little bit of demotivation in the teams, and, see that performance coming down. So I think so we have started these
balance.
The balance, and you started these sessions where you're saying, let's come online and let's chat, and let's, because now it's become a one-way street. Managers telling their people to do stuff, and that's it, right? So I think the human factor has to be brought back, and it will be a very interesting time to calibrate that as well. But yeah, absolutely, I think very, very interesting.
Venkat, in times like these, how would technology companies like Vinculum actually create multiple ecosystems to brands and retailers to actually trade in international markets? Something which people have been very cautious pre-COVID, but I think it's going to become a certainty in the days to come.
So no, I touched upon that earlier, Ravi. So if you look at the fact of life is there is a serious opportunity for brands to sell online. And why should you be selling online only in your domestic country? If you're a good brand and if you have global aspirations, there is no better time than now to be able to use the network and to be able to try out and build a presence online. And you can extend it to other channels as you go. The online channel is the easiest way to enter a market. And companies like Vinculum, we are pre-integrated to 80 plus marketplaces today, and we are already present globally. So which essentially means sitting from Delhi, there is no reason why we won't see Pankaj have Clovia in 30 plus countries. Okay. And that's really where the opportunity is. And what we are doing to facilitate, like what I said earlier, we are having Naveenji equivalent alpha sellers in every market who are absolutely category kings in terms of distribution. So what it does is it essentially means brands can operate like a local company in every market. And people take care of certifications, people take care of import regulations and being an importer on record. There are models there which we have enabled where people can be a seller on record. So we have partners for the complete ecosystem. And similarly, logistics companies, cross-border specialists are part of the platform. Bonded warehouse players are part of the platform. Digital marketers in each country are part of the platform. So which essentially means you really are, for practical purpose, you're a local company in each of the 30 countries. And you can, the way we have designed our entire platform, you could technically go into 30 countries less than a month. So which is I think the beauty of it. Again, there is very little risk. Means you have to think through the process. You have to think through how to make sure you meet the SLAs of the online channels. You have to make sure that the stock doesn't get stuck. We have even tied in inventory financials, so which you're aware of. So in fact, from a brand perspective, that really limits the risk. So you are actually buying the stock and you are passing it to a Navinji equivalent in the destination market, and you're letting Navinji in each country sell, right? And the brand is getting money upfront. So you're essentially taking away the risk, and also the regulatory problems of getting money back in 6 months is not at all a problem because you're getting it upfront with the minimal credit period, right? So I think that becomes a very powerful way to enter new markets. So I think this is one of the models. So there are many models. So this is what we have done in terms of business model innovation to help brands, our customers, right? We are signing 25 customers a month. So each of, I would say 15 of them are amenable for cross-border. There's no reason why not. So which is where I think it becomes a very interesting opportunity. And as the market opens up for more and more good products in terms of post-COVID, because interestingly, COVID is global, right? The pent-up shopping expectations are there with everybody. I would say when that happens, there's no better time than to go cross-border today. Even the government is pushing it. I think we should latch on. Good brands have to latch on to this opportunity and go international.
Perfect.
So here to add to what Venkat has said, I see this is the best opportunity time for someone to look around this. And here, online brands are the brands. It is not necessary that brands go to the like Flipkart or other marketplaces globally. One can have their.
You may have to repeat last line, Navinji. We lost you for a bit.
See, what I'm saying, one need not go to the marketplaces to sell their own product through online. And for that purpose, your own brand store, online brand store can be a handy tool where you can use that as a, media to reach out to the customer, and where D2C opportunity is the vast opportunity which can be replicated not only for the domestic market, but also for the global market. And blended with the social media marketing and digital media marketing, one can have the direct access to the customer. You can have the Instagram marketing, you can have the Facebook marketing and LinkedIn marketing and many other tools to reach out to the customers who are liking your product, who are following your product, following your brands. And those are the people who are wanting to buy your product. Now here, you can provide them the access or link to your online brand store, and through that it can be fulfilled. And that is where digitally the digital company or the technology company can come to the support, like Venkat's company, and at the same time for fulfillment purpose, Olympia can come in handy to do the fulfillment job, maybe within the country or globally also.
Sure.
And that is how one can reach out to the customers and larger audience.
All right. I'm getting a lot of questions from the audience, so I might just kind of spin off to the audience also. Thank you, panel members, for sharing very, very good insights. As we're already getting some questions, we'll try to accommodate as many questions for the panelists. I would also request you, in case you have any specific question for the panelists, please do write it in the text box. One of the questions which has come up is, what do you forecast about the sales trends of lifestyle items in e-commerce? This is not addressed to anybody, but Pankaj, would you want to take this?
Again, a lot of guesstimations happening here. The way we are, envisioning this is that, lifestyle items, it's not that it will go away for sure. But there are certain things which will be directly impacted and impacted very strongly. For example, bridal dresses, it's something that it's going to be very difficult for that to recover extremely fast because those are very, very occasional things. So I think businesses like those will have to do a lot more of recalibration during this immediate times. But one thing, and we've been talking to a lot of these brands, which are in the lifestyle category, and most of them have been offline players. and everybody seems to be giving a view that it is at least 2 quarters of a lull that they see. And everybody's been very clearly telling me that, for the next 6 months, we're trying to figure out only a short-term thought process. And we see that, in Q3 and Q4, starting right now, they would see, things to be changing for themselves. So I think that's a very fair view of things, at least for some time to come. And businesses will have to keep that view in mind before they plan anything ahead.
Sure. The next question again is, I can take this for Naveen ji. Do you think the present trend of using mask and other protective health gears will mature manifold in the coming days? Naveen ji.
It'll be a part of life, right?
This is going to be the way of life, or it is rather already a way of life. Now, because of lockdown situation, most of the people are staying indoors. They are not moving out, and because of their own health apprehensions. But at the same time, this COVID-19 or Corona is definitely like any other flu or any other kind of infection, whether you call it a bird flu or swine flu or dengue or any other thing. Maybe you need to be having a little bit extra precautions, and one has to work something around their immune system to improve. And at the same time, one has to take all the due precautions. And this is your mask, your sanitizers, and your social distancing norms. All of them are going to be the new normal, and one has to live with it, at least for coming not only few quarters, but I see a scenario that are going to be for a few years. So now, Venkat, you wanted to add something?
No, I was just telling your voice is breaking, sir. But I'll just add to what you said. Again, I'll use the SARS lens because I used to live in Hong Kong in those days. I used to find it strange that after SARS went away, why are these guys still wearing masks? Okay, and I used to even joke about it for some time. But when I think back and reflect back, the joke was on me because people are going to wear it. And I think it'll become a habit that anybody having a cold will definitely wear a mask for a very, very, possibly for the rest of the foreseeable future. But I think masks will become a way of life. And to make it more interesting, we are obviously seeing the Powerpuff range of, from Clovia, and we're going to see, interesting masks targeted at different people so that it's not a boring thing which you wear. It represents something about you. And I see sports masks coming up, which are more breathable. I see more trendy masks coming up across board for all category of people. So Dubai, I saw jewel masks, which were selling at, when these were coming from the luxury brands, where there are jewels on the mask and people were wearing masks. So I think there's very interesting things are going to come. But I would say it is not going away in a hurry. Pankaj, you want to add to that? You're launching a lot of products there.
So yeah, I mean, of course, for us, we are betting huge on this, and we believe, so we've always been a very trend setting, fun brand, and that's something that we want to brush off on our masks as well. We know it's a sad time. We know bras are difficult to product to wear all day, but make it happy, right? I mean, that's what we guys have been doing all along. I think that's what we guys, live and breathe. I would want to add a little of a contrarian view to this, that if the masks disappear after a year, I think that will reflect on us, at least Indians, as a very responsible society.
Yeah,
I think it is an opposite view that, let's monitor how it goes. And if it disappears, then we better beware that, we guys really gotta sit back and think of how short-term a memory can we have. So I hope and pray that, we are as mature in terms of, the social responsibility as a lot of our, on the South Asian and the Eastern friends have been. And let's just hope that, we continue with the same sort of responsibility.
Okay, just one more question which is coming up is, considering the extended period of lockdown, can brands and sellers relabel their goods and extend the product shelf life?
Again, it depends on different kind of products. I mean, relabeling mean in terms of the date of manufacturing, or is that what we're saying?
They've just mentioned relabel their goods. I would assume that considering that some of the products may not be necessarily season agnostic, you might decide to extend the period. Not every item would probably be a fashion item. So I think this will be coming in from categories other than fashion.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I don't know what relabeling means. If it is relabeling the barcode, then absolutely not. I mean, I think those are some sanctities that you have to maintain. But if it is about rebranding certain things, where you say that, so if something is spring summer, then absolutely it's not spring summer anymore. There was no spring, there's just summer. So I think you will have to. I think that's going to be a very smart move to do that. I think a good way to do that, and Naveenji, in fact, could be a contributor to that aspect is, I think the concept of seasons probably will have to blur for a little bit, and brands will have to focus more towards necessities and keeping those borders away, because the even the P&Ls have shifted now. Literally April and May has disappeared. So people are contemplating, can June actually be a starting point for the financial year? So there's no reason why a brand should be labeling themselves as spring, summer, and autumn, winters. And I've already spoken to a lot of big brands. In fact, yesterday I had a very interesting call, almost a 2-hour call with CEO of one of these 400, 500 crore brands, one of the leading brands in the luxury space, and in apparel. Actually, that leaves only 3-4 guys now. I think everybody is of exactly the same opinion that this demarcation probably will have to go for some time.
Okay, we have just time for 2 more questions, and this question comes as a very generic question. What are the best ways to manage dead stocks, and can brands actually get established in international markets through the Vinculum ecosystem partner? Venkat, do you want to take this question? What are the best ways?
The second question is what I was covering, right? So we are definitely looking and helping brands to go international into different markets. So we are already working with, I would say, about 30 odd Indian brands who are going international into Southeast Asia, US, Middle East, into different parts of the world using our network of ecosystem partners. And we work very closely with them to build a GTM, look at the price points they can sell, who is the competition, which channels make sense. And we work very closely in terms of getting this done. In fact, Abhi heads this initiative. He has a team of NIF grads and other analysts who work with him to create a GTM with the brands. So we're already doing this for many brands. Pre-COVID also we were doing it. But with COVID, we have added the whole inventory financing piece. So that helped. I think that will solve a lot of the headache which we had. We were struggling between getting the distributor to buy and the brands to sell. So we now have the inventory financiers to enable that. So I think clearly that's something doable. But from a dead stock perspective, possibly Naveenji can cover it way better in terms of how he refurbishes and how what are the channels which can be used to sell kind of thing.
In fact, I will bundle that as a question for Naveenji. There's another question specifically coming to him. Apart from dead stocks, what are the categories that are going to underperform in the next 1 year? Very interesting one. Underperform in the next 1 year. Naveenji.
Yeah, so as such, in next 1 year is something which is quite a long period. I don't say any of the category except the special super luxury or specific intended purpose products like bridal products, as Pankaj has said, except those kind of products, or maybe the event management kind of activities or travel gears and those kind of products are definitely going to be underperforming categories. But by and large, maybe around festive period after 5 to 6 months, we can definitely see most of the categories are regaining the lost ground. And that is where I see that come September, October, when the festive period sets into the country, I see that there is going to be a demand spurt. As it is, there is a pent-up demand for the necessity and essentials. And of course, the semi-luxury items are also going to see the spurt from August onwards, except the super luxury brands. But now at the same time, when one is going to have the new normal like wearing the mask, and specifically when we see the history around Japan, where most of the people are still wearing the mask. Before even COVID, also people have been wearing the mask. The average age of the Japanese is higher than most of the world people. Most of the world population is having lower age than the average age of Japanese people, and they are living the healthy life because their lifestyle has become like this. They are always wearing a mask.
So this is how you see the situation. The whole world is going to have the new normal of wearing the mask. Of course, there are going to be different trends and designs. And now I've seen a couple of masks which is having the mustache around and French beard around and different kind of shapes and design. So those kind of print on the fabric is going to come, where maybe the blankets.
You don't need a beard for the mask. Beard is there as such, sir.
So one can wear the different kind of mask to have the different show on his what his face should wear like or look like. So here I see underperformance of except few super luxury brands, but at the same time, many of the super luxury brands like Mercedes or LV and those kind of brands have also come out with their own mask. So they are also finding some or other ways to get set into the new trend. And there are going to be buyers who are going to buy the products from such super luxury brands. And they will be a buyer for it. Of course, it may not be having the similar kind of performance, especially in the beauty category. Because how do you beautify yourself? What kind of product are you going to use in the beauty category when it is going to be covered by the mask? So here,
your recommendations for actually dead stock clearance. How would you manage dead stocks?
See, dead stock clearance is something wherein one has to look out for the opportunity markets, opportunity target audience. See, today there is a demand for everything, whatever is there in the market. Of course, the buyers are going to be at a price. The buyers are not going to be at what price you want to sell. Maybe someone has to book the loss. Someone has to present it differently. Someone has to use to some different kind of packaging or bundling or cross bundling, or one has to look out to the needy person. And especially there are markets where some product is shortage in some part of the world. There are excess supply in some part of the world. So one has to look around to which part of the world is looking for what product. Maybe the brown box, which has been demanded by the countries like India and many other countries, were not being sold so preferred way in developed countries. They always wanted the branded box to be offered from the brands. But brown box, which is carrying the branded product, not in the branded box, but in a brown box, is still preferred by many countries because it carries the price arbitrage. So here, one has to look out for such kind of opportunity. Still, it is possible to sell.
Perfect. It's been a very long session. Thank you again, panelists, for having shared very interesting insights with the entire audience. And thank you, audience, for joining us. For those of you whose queries we could not include in today's session, would request you to write to us at marketing@vinculumgroup.com. We will try to revert back to each individual email at the earliest. We'll also be sharing a recording of this session to each registered attendee on email. And of course, we'll be posting this on our social media channels. Looking forward to seeing you all in our next series of COVID-19 webinars. Stay safe. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.